Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today, Mercedes-Benz is going to show off this, well, at least a real version of this. This is early sketch art of the brand new C63 AMG that will be raced in the DTM, or the German Touring Car Series. This vehicle will be making its official debut at the Frankfurt Motor Show. Cannot wait to see this thing, because this thing looks the business. Another cool little machine is this, the brand new Bugatti Veyron. This is their Gran Turismo concept. Now, again, this is basically inside the Gran Turismo 6 video game. It will come in with the next update, or the next download version of this, and you can actually drive this particular machine in the game, but this thing may have a lot of updates or a lot of parts and pieces that you may see in the next go-round of the Veyron, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But if you own Gran Turismo 6, you can get the update very quickly and be able to drive this particular machine. Next up on the list, in a weird little situation, we're going to talk about how you might be able to get your hands on a Ford GT, because it's going to take a little bit of a different situation, as it's kind of a lot of rumors that come in with a lot of supercars on how you get the highest of the high-end machines. Apparently that Ford may be taking a page out of that book and how you get your hands on a GT. Basically what you have to do is go to your local Ford dealership and you have to fill out an application to buy this particular vehicle. Now, they're going to look into a lot of stuff. How many Fords you've actually owned? Are you a big Ford person? Have you owned the last generation Ford GT? Which is apparently, that'll get you closer to the front of the line than anything. And then Ford will pick you. If they so desire, they will pick you. You will be lined up with a dealership. What Ford is trying to do is get this in the hands of private owners, rather than a bunch of people throwing cash around trying to get their hands on these vehicles, and the fact that this vehicle may end up on a Ford lot and then sit there because the Ford dealership's going to want double what the vehicle would actually sticker priced for. So basically this is the deal. They've set up the price, you know what the price is, and they're hearing this thing's going to be well over $250,000. And basically they're going to hook you up with a dealership. Now, dealerships are actually throwing their hat in the ring to sell this machine, but basically the dealership is only taking your money and doing the paperwork. You're basically dealing dang near directly with the Ford Group itself. This is a situation, it's gotten out of hand before. I always point at the Dodge Viper, the first go-round in 1992, when the Viper first came out, and they built, 200-300 of those machines. And when they all got to the dealerships, Chrysler looked into it and found out that only probably 20 or 30% of them actually got into public's hands. The rest of them were at dealerships, and the dealerships wanted an astronomical amount of money to get your hands on one of those machines. In fact, not too very far from Motor Cars HQ is a dealership that still owns its first generation Dodge Viper, the 1992 version, that is still supposedly on sale. In fact, you can get it now, from what I've heard, from somewhere around $100,000 US for that particular machine, which may be kind of a deal, but still, it's pretty neat. And this is something that I think will be a very good thing. You're not going to get a bunch of people actually throwing tons of cash around to get them. Not to mention, you're not going to get a lot of dealerships that are going to hold these cars on their lot. But I'm assuming some of these people that buy these are going to put them on the open market and make a killing on them. Next up on the list, the folks over at Tesla are getting very close to putting into production the brand new Model X. Model X is a pretty weird piece of kit. Now, especially because the rear doors are gull wings, which I didn't know until just here recently. Pretty weird piece, but they're a little crossover sport utility vehicle, if you will. The first edition, or the first go-round of these machines, are going to be called the Signature Edition. You're going to have to pay a tad bit of a premium. In fact, we're hearing talks about somewhere around $132,000 that you're going to have to lay down for this particular machine. And for that, you get 240 miles of range and a 0 to 60 number of 3.8 seconds, which is whopper fast for a car that's this heavy. But if you kick in an extra 10 grand, you can get ludicrous mode in the brand new Model X, which means this thing will dip down to 3.2 seconds. So, pretty neat piece of kit, and it's going to be very interesting to see how well this thing sells, especially in the initial go-round, because there is a lot of demand for this machine. Last up on the list, well, let's talk about these three chaps. We talked about in the last episode of Motor Cars about Mr. Jeremy Clarkson making somewhere between $10 and $15 million. Well, now we got a little bit more official numbers from the Daily Mirror. Mr. Clarkson here is going to make 9.6 million pounds sterling, which is 14.7 million US. James May, Richard Hammond, and the unpictured Andy Willman, who was the executive producer of Top Gear, will be the executive producer on this new show, are going to make 7.2 million pounds sterling, or $11 million. That's per year. That's a 3-year gig. These guys are going to be some pretty wealthy fellows. Now, there's a little situation which has now got me thinking, and I'm going to be starting a rumor right now that may have a lot of you rolling your eyes and maybe clenching your fists at me. Because here's the weird deal. Mr. Clarkson, for season 22 of Top Gear, made $1.5 million. To go this high up for punching a guy is an interesting situation. It's got me thinking over the past several days. What if these three guys, or one of these three guys, or four guys I should say, maybe got a whiff of what they may be worth on the open market and put together a little situation where they thought, you know what, we can't just quit the BBC. They'll sue us over doing a show, even though the show's done out of the country, even though the show isn't British television but streaming. Maybe that they put this whole fracas deal, because there's a couple of things that are weird about it. Number one, the whole fracas thing to begin with. Jeremy Clarkson punches a producer. 4 people were witness to this deal. Clarkson, the producer, and Hammond and May here. Which is odd. Not to mention the fact that Clarkson turned himself in. Not to mention that Clarkson, at a auction right after the deal happened, exclaimed to the crowd that basically the BBC effed up the show and they were going to ruin it. Then later he recanted some of that deal and actually told a lot of people, because this producer started getting death threats, that it was his fault, which is the truth as far as what happened to Top Gear. I can't blame these 4 guys if they were going after a cash grab, and if they may have done the whole fracas deal to make sure that Clarkson got fired or basically didn't get his contract redone. So could the whole fracas deal just be a big publicity stunt? Something to do to get them out of the BBC and into the open market? Because that's quite of a pay bump for punching a coworker in the face. So, again, this is just some bald fat guy in the middle part of the United States just rambling on about idiotic stuff, because my brain works in this kind of way. So this I may be so far from the truth, but it really got me thinking over the past couple of days. Could this be actually what took place? I guess time will tell on that deal. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.